So good morning and welcome to One Heart, One Mind, Center for Spiritual Living. And I'm going to kick us off with a song. It's probably best if I get it up on my screen first, from Ricky Beckwith. Ricky Byers used to be Beckwith, not anymore. But I just love her music. It's very gospel-y and very just beautiful. She's so inspiring. So here we go. Oh, you know what? I think I'm just going to share the sound and not this, because it's not a video. So I'm just going to share the sound and we can still see each other's lovely faces. Here we go.
There is a power, a presence, one life of all, and no other power can exist outside of the infinite. One love, there can only be God's love. Oh yes, I know that I walk, oh yes, I walk in the love of God. There is wisdom and a knowing, a loving and a truth. Whatever you need to know will come in God's way for you. Oh, just say until it shows. I will pray and I won't move on till I know, oh, that I walk in the love of God. For the power and the glory and the love of God is everywhere. I can see it everywhere, feel it everywhere, and I know in my heart, yes, the power and the glory and the love of God is everywhere. I can feel it, it's everywhere. I can see it, it's everywhere, and I know in my heart, yes, I walk in the love of God. There is a power, a presence, one life of all, and no other power can exist outside of the infinite. Oh, one love, there can only be God's love. Oh yes, I know that I walk, oh yes, I walk in the love of God. I walk in the love of God. Yes, I walk in the love of God. Of God.
I think she's just so inspiring.
Where I am.
Oops, hang on a second. Helpful if you turn off the video that's coming afterwards. So anyway, I'm talking today about all there is God, and so I thought her topic, her walking in all there is God, was perfect for us. So I would like to invite our practitioner of the day, Ralane Clarke, to kick us off with a few words and some prayer. I'm so glad you're here, Ralane.
Me too. I feel like the invocation's already been done by Ricky Byers. Let's just hold that energies and feel the love and the power and the oneness of God right here, right now, in this very moment, together with each and every one of you. What a wonderful group we are that expands outward into the, beyond so many communities, beyond One Heart, One Mind, and connects to the whole world. That vibrational energy of love, that gratitude. It just feels so great to be here this morning and be in the presence of God and connected with as one together in that loving power of spirit. And I'm so grateful for this morning's service and for the music and for each and every one of you and for science of mind and prayer and spirit and nature and just all the wonderfulness that surrounds us and embraces us and flows through us in every moment of our lives. And so I release this prayer into divine law, knowing it is already so. And so it is.
So it is.
Well, I'd like to tell a little story that was in the newspaper. And this woman went to her pulmonologist because she's had a long history of COPD. And she was very sad this particular September appointment, and she just kept crying and crying. It wasn't so much the doctor realized a breathing problem that was going on with her right now, but a grieving problem. And so she talked about losing her beloved cat after all these years, and she was just so lonely and so sad. And so he listened to her and they talked. He has been her pulmonologist for 15 years, and he's actually saved her life quite a few times. And so they have a very close bond. And so during the conversation, he, said, I think it would be a good idea if you got another cat. And so then they went on talking further, and she always feels good at the end of their sessions. And so he gave her a prescription. And so she's walking out the door, she was looking at the prescription, and it said to get her flu shot and to get her COVID shot. And right above that on the prescription was get a cat. And this doctor said that oftentimes, he said about half the people that he prescribes to don't follow his directions. And so he likes to write things down so that people see them and it shows that they're important. So she walked out of the door looking at her prescription, get a cat. And so she went to the produce stand. That was the first place that she went to get some vegetables and some fruit. And lo and behold, there's a kitten there at the produce stand, right? A little baby 6-week, 7-week, 8-week-old kitten, black and white. And so she's just smitten with this kitten. And so she's talking to the farm stand people about it. And he said, yes, the kitty had an accident and something fell off the shed shelf and severed her little paw, her little pad, but she's fine. She runs around and she's doesn't slow her down. And so she kept resonating with her doctor's prescription, right? Get a cat. And then there's this kitten, and it was in her consciousness, right? And so she says to them, can I adopt this cat? And so they said, well, we have 4 others that we're trying to find homes for. And so your produce bill is about $2.99 for the cantaloupes and the vegetables. A penny more, you can adopt a kitty. So she's so happy, and she goes home with her kitty, and she's just in love with her kitty. And so later on, so the doctor's name is Dr. Earl King. So it's a girl kitten. And so she names her Ralane after the doctor. And so she's just so thrilled to have Ralane, and Ralane is just so much fun. And the only thing she has a little trouble with is that Ralane likes to wake her up at 1 a.m. to play. And she hits her with a little paw that has the disability and, just tries to wake her up. So Dr. King said that, he was really thrilled to hear that she got her kitty so soon. He was really happy that she heeded his advice on his prescription. And she was saying what really she loves about Dr. King is that he looks beyond her physical body, and that what he really cares about is her well-being. And the reason why he said he wanted to get a cat is he wanted to have her bring joy in her life. And he felt that that was the most healing thing beyond any medicine, beyond any looking at her diagnosis. It was just bringing joy and love into her life. And so she, was just so grateful. And he said it was really neat that the kitty had a disability like her. And so they have something in common. And so I thought this was kind of a good example of what we're going to be talking today, looking beyond the physical and looking at our oneness with all of spirit and how important it is to feel the joy and feel the love. And that is the most healing thing beyond, a very smart doctor who could have prescribed, the best of medicines and all the newest technology. But the kitty was the healing power here. So I thought that was a wonderful story that I wanted to share. So.
Oh, that was a wonderful story. Yeah. And I'm going to share this. Thank you for that, Ralane. And your prayer was beautiful, by the way. And yeah, you were right on point there. What I'm going to share is a video. It's Daniel Nahmod, who is a New Thought musician that we're all pretty much familiar with. And he often partners with this man named Nemo Patel, and it brings a very contemporary feel to their music. And this is about superheroes. And in the video, he talks about how we don't have to be superheroes because we already are all superheroes. So I'll just let you watch it. This one's a video, which is kind of fun. So we actually get to see the animation. Here we go. Oh, share sound.
Cape on my back. I always wanted to be the best in my pack. I always wanted to be known to be good, to be the hero of my own hood. If I could just fly, I could save everyone, stop all the wars so nobody's gotta run. All the killing, all the crimes, pain and suffering. It's getting tougher to be buffered from it all. Are we gonna make it through? Is he gonna fly back in? Cause if he don't come right now, I don't think good will win. Time now to bring the good back in. We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single bound. There's a lot of good that we can do standing on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the clouds. It's up to me and you right here, right now. Superhero, na 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 na. The superhero, whoa, 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 whoa. Superhero, na 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 na. The superhero, whoa, 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 whoa. The world is full of so much pain, and though I can't fly, I can do my little part here before I die. Yeah, I may not win the Nobel Prize, but at least I can try to be a little more kind, spend a little more time in my changed life, yeah. Like giving a hug when somebody is down, feeding a soul when there's nobody around. Small things that can change the sound and the vibe of the spirit that can change a town. Started small, now it's touched a crowd. The crowd is growing, now the word is out that if we all do our parts, we can touch the clouds. Without a cape and a mask, we can touch the clouds. Yep. We don't have to leap tall buildings. There's a lot of good that we can do standing on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the clouds. It's up to me and you right here, right now. smallest things that make a difference. And all the power's locked within us. All we gotta do is find the key and turn the latch and set it free, yeah. We don't need to be fast and strong, cause a kind word can go a long way. Help someone whose faith is gone to get back up and carry on. Maybe it's too hard to understand, think it's too much for us to handle, but I promise you that you can, cause you don't need to be a Superman. We don't have to leap tall buildings in a single bound. There's a lot of good that we can do standing on the ground. We don't need a jetpack suit to take us to the clouds. It's up to me and you right here, right now. You're a superhero. Feel the soul, there's nobody around it. We're superheroes. And the vibe of the spirit that can change a town. We're superheroes. Everybody's throwing out, the word is out that if we all do our part, we can touch the clouds. Without a cape and a mask, we can touch the clouds. Yeah.
I just realized I was muted. I was saying that obviously it was made during COVID, this video, but the message still applies. There's so many things that we can do. Anyway, I just thought that was timely for us. And so let me just say again, welcome to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living and our online Sunday morning spiritual service. And as I always like to say, no matter how you're connecting with us, whether it's in real time or a replay, you are welcome here, and we're so glad you're connecting. These last couple of Sundays, I've kind of chosen to take us back to some metaphysical basics. Last week, I talked about the nature of life and that all life is connected, that we're all connected in this one power presence, this one infinite power, God, spirit, whatever we want to call it, that connects us all together, that everything's one, and that the Creator is in and through and as all of its creation, and we are its creation. And because of our inherent divinity, that we're empowered, we have the authority by way of our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs through the power of creative law, which we teach in Science of Mind, to impact our own human lives, to co-create our experience with God. Which really leads me to what I'd like to talk about today, that the spiritual principle that everything, not just some things, everything that we see and experience in the physical world is an expression of this same presence and power. That's why I wanted to do that video, because everything, no matter what it looks like in the human realm, in the world of form, is an expression of this same power, this one power and presence. There isn't God and something else. There is just God. Call it with what you will. It doesn't matter. It's the same presence within everyone and everything. Now, historically, I just want to say the word God has carried a lot of baggage. So if you don't resonate with the word God, find one that works for you. The presence, the spirit, the beloved, infinite mind, infinite love. Ernest Holmes called it the thing itself. Whatever feels kind of comfy and intimate to you, use that. Truth is, the infinite is beyond any words we could ever use anyway. So it doesn't really matter. And when I think of the traditional image that most of the world has of God, a God that's separate from its creation, I think about a story that I read in a book called Thank You God for Evolution by a man named Michael Dowd. I really like this guy. He was an evangelistic preacher who found evolution and needed to marry science and his spirituality, and he wrote this wonderful book. But anyway, he tells this story that after a Sunday service at a Christian church where he was pastoring, he was standing outside, as ministers often do, greeting everyone as they come out of the sanctuary. And a man came up to him, extended his hand, and announced, "Well, Reverend, I'm an atheist." And Dowd said that he took his hand and shook it and replied, "Praise God, brother, so am I." And the man looked at him confused. And Dowd said lightheartedly, "Tell me about this God you don't believe in. I'm quite sure I don't believe in that God either." And so I love that lightheartedness, that no one can tell us who God is to us. We're the only ones that connect with the God of our understanding, as the 12 steppers like to say. We're the only ones who can nurture and develop our personal relationship with this power and presence. It's unique to us. And I have found that my relationship with this presence is constantly changing and evolving and growing. It gets deeper and deeper and more personal to me and meaningful to me. And as our relationship to this presence changes, I find that it is the key to our understanding of how, if all there is God, life can still look so messy. It's in developing this personal relationship with the presence and experience of this presence, not just a thought about this presence, that we actually cultivate and nurture a faith and a trust that this presence is in and through and as everything. And the more we feel it within us, the more we're able to witness it in the world around us. And the more we can see how it uplifts everything. It's our personal relationship with this God that allows us to know that no matter what happens in our human lives, God is present everywhere. And this power, God, spirit, whatever you call it, uses everything in our human experience to move life towards a greater and a grander expression of good and of love. And sometimes that can be difficult to believe because it doesn't always look so good and so loving. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that, did I bring that in? No, I think I have it written down here on my screen. Let me see if I can find it. Emerson wrote that when we have broken from the God of tradition and ceased from the God of rhetoric, then may God fire the heart with his presence. So we let go of what anyone else has told us about God or what any cultural belief is that doesn't resonate with us. And we allow God to be present, to fire our own hearts, to inspire us right where we are. Truth is, the idea that everything is God, it really can seem a little bit pie in the sky. When we look around, especially right now, we look around and we see a lot of chaos and confusion and tons of human suffering in the world. And the question, how can God be all there is a big and important one. And that's really what I'd like to focus on today, and to begin to answer that question for ourselves. And, it just, with everything that's happening, it just seems like such a timely and a pertinent question for us to ask as we live in this crazy, messy human world. So years ago, I think it was about 1994-ish, I went to see this new author who had just come on the scene with the release of a new book called A Return to Love. I'd read her book and I really thought she was onto something. I liked her optimism and her devotion to this divine power, a power that for me at the time, I was just getting familiar with, because the God that she was talking about was so much different than the God that I'd grown up with. And at the time, I had only been studying science of mind for a short time, maybe a year or two. And anyway, the author's name was Marianne Williamson. And she was doing a book signing at a small little bookstore called Copperfields in Santa Rosa, California. And during her talk, she said something that has always stuck with me. She said, if you want to make something and all you have is a piece of green cloth, then it's going to be made out of green cloth. And if you're the creator and you want to make something and all there is you, then whatever you make will have to be made out of you. It's going to be made out of the same stuff. We are, hence, all God stuff. We can't be anything else. If all there is God, and we are created out of that same stuff, then we're God stuff. And, truth be told, it took me years to really wrap my head and my heart around this spiritual truth that all there is God. And what I've come to know is that absolutely everything is an expression of the life of God. The things we label and we see as, well, the things we label good and we see them as a blessing, and the things we label bad and we might see them as evil, and everything in between. And it's taken me a while to really embody this seemingly paradoxical truth, but I do believe that it's true. In his book, The Science of Mind, on page 81, Ernest Holmes, who was our founder, of course, wrote that spirit is the active and self-conscious principle. Spirit is first cause, or God. And here here's the part where he really goes in, and I really want us to hear this. The absolute essence of all that is. It is the great universal I am. It is absolute all. It is self-existent and has all life within itself. All life within itself. It was Voltaire said that God is a circle whose center is everywhere and circumference is nowhere. Everything is contained within God. That's a big idea, a big and a bold and a beautiful truth. And it might take us a minute to really embody it and to feel it. We often talk about who we are as human beings and what the purpose and the meaning of our life is. And these are really valuable and empowering questions. But it seems important to remember, at least it seems important to me, to remember where we've come from as human beings. We emerged in a world that had to seem kind of confusing, especially for an emerging man, for a very ancient man, to see all these kind of mysterious forces at play all around them, things that were really beyond human comprehension and control at that time. And in order to make sense of it all, to see everything that was going around and kind of bring some order to it, we created stories to make sense of the world. And we created communities to stick together and stay safe. And it was crazy I can't imagine. Can you imagine? Let's put it this way. What it was like to be living in a big wide world where you didn't understand that the sun we were actually a planet spinning around the sun, but just a big ball of fire that set every night. They had no idea the science of what was going on around them. But here's the thing that I really believe is true, that there's always been a part of us, because we're part of that universal mind, because we are one with the only life there is, that has felt and intuitively known that there is this intelligent order and a benevolent wisdom behind everything. Very early on, we see emergence of religion, emergence of spirituality. On cave walls, people drew pictures of gods and goddesses and told stories of gods and goddesses. And we did that to make sense of our world. And religious traditions emerged across the globe, and all of them emerged for a sense of continuity in our very early human lives. In every culture and all across the globe, there is some religious tradition that has emerged. And some of the things that have happened from these religious traditions the outcomes are wonderful, and some not so great. But I think that it's quite telling that underlying all the world's religions are some very basic commonalities. Aside from the traditions and the dogmas of the rules, if you will. I grew up in the Catholic Church, lots of rules, which are all quite varied. There are some real common themes. We call them the omnis. the belief that this presence and power we intuitively feel is omniscient or all-knowing or omnipotent or all-powerful and omnipresent or present everywhere and within all things, and that the nature of this presence is loving and benevolent. The fact that these commonalities exist in virtually all spiritual traditions tells me that there is within us an intimate and intuitive connection to the one mind of God. It is who we are. And, it's our great gift to be able to grow and expand and swim in this connection. And as we do that, it empowers us to participate with its divine nature, because its nature is our nature. And through practice, we can learn how to allow this presence to inform all that we do in our lives. I'm still, and we all are, learning as we go. And the understanding and the realization that I am one with this power, with this presence of universal good and love, continually inspires me. And I hope it inspires you. And it motivates me to hone my skills to consciously participate with it for my benefit and for the benefit of the world. When we contribute our good to the world, it uplifts everyone and everything. And I really think that Ernest Holmes was a master of explaining how empowered we are as both these human beings and divine beings. And I found this, what I think is pretty clear and powerful explanation that I'd like to share with you. But I first want to keep in mind, help us to remember the era, the time and history in which Holmes lived and in which he spoke and wrote and taught the science of mind. He grew up, it was in the early 1900s. He wrote the Science of Mind book in 1926, and he had been speaking and teaching for quite some time before that. So he grew up in a time when Christianity was the predominant religion, even more so than today. And it was also a time when there was this great shift in thinking happening. The transcendentalists had come on the scene, people like Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau. And they held this core belief in the inherent goodness of people and nature. They believed that there was a divine experience woven into everyday human life. I love that idea. And there was this sense of renewal and self-empowerment, a zeitgeist, if you will. And it sparked many new thought teachers, starting with Phineas Quimby, who we often call the father of New Thought, and people like Mary Baker Eddy, who started Christian Science, and Emma Curtis Hopkins. Lots of women were involved in this movement as well. And Holmes began to interpret his biblical understanding from his Christian roots from this larger metaphysical perspective. And science was also beginning to make some amazing discoveries at this time as well. And Holmes believed in the marriage of science and spirituality. They were seeking the same answers, just using different languages. So all this was going on at the time of his ministry, and it informed his writing of the Science of Mind. And he wrote this explanation that I'm going to share with you right now. It's from Living the Science of Mind, which is kind of a companion book, if you will, to the Science of Mind text. And this passage is from a chapter called The Story of Growth. And he wrote this. He wrote that the Bible starts with the fundamental premise that God, universal creative spirit, is present everywhere and is within mankind itself. To this concept is added the great law of cause and effect. Then the Bible presents the idea that mankind is created free, with the possibility of limitless expansion and left alone to discover himself. So this part of the quote, it really expresses the understanding of our oneness with God. And then this next piece gets into why I think it's possible for us to still see disorder and suffering in the world at the same time that we're saying God is all there is. So he goes on. He says, During this process of self-discovery, mankind brings upon himself, through the operation of the law of mind. Now, remember, we teach that there is a natural creative law that is always working, that we are impressing with our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs. So he says, through the operation of the law of mind, the experiences he images in his thought, what we think and feel consciously or unconsciously. And we have, on one hand, the evolution of the individual life under the guidance of divine providence in alignment with our oneness with God, which leads to harmony. In contrast, he says, and here's where he really touches on the point that I really like to make today. In contrast, there is the freedom to live under the false guidance of a sense of being separate from good, which leads to disaster and chaos. We're free to choose. What we image, what we think, what we feel, the beliefs that we have stored in our subjective consciousness are what impress creative law. And if they are from things that we have collected along the way that are not necessarily true in God, then we're going to see things expressed that don't look much like good or don't look much like God. You know, and I know that these quotes are kind of long and a little cumbersome, but I really wanted to share them because they explain how we are capable of expressing the good of God in the realization of our oneness, or to express lack, limitation, and suffering from that sense of separation from our source that Holmes is talking about. Holmes is explaining why it's possible for everything to be all God, and yet for there still to be things in the world that are clearly not God ordained. You know, and as Holmes writes at the end of that long passage that I shared with you, and I think it's important to keep this in mind, he said that there is always something, a something with a capital S, so something divine, at the innermost depth of our being, which never completely loses a sense of its spiritual nature. There's a place in us that is always connected, that can never be damaged, that was born as original blessing, which is infinite, which is always there. In other words, there's this intuitive wisdom within us that's always connected to God and to our good, and it comes from the wisdom of our heart, not necessarily our logical mind. And it's been my experience that all I have to do is shift my attention to this presence, and I can feel it. And if I can feel it, then I can express it. And I believe this insight is important in our daily lives. You know, we're all steeped in the spiritual principle that God is all there is, and that we are one with this power and this presence. And when we know that and embody it, we're empowered. We're empowered to participate with it. We're empowered to transform the things that are not in alignment with our oneness into things that are in alignment with the good of who we are. You know, and the science divine tradition gives us some powerful spiritual tools, some spiritual practices that support us living from these principles, practices that help us to live in our oneness rather than imagining that we're separate, because in actuality, we can never be separate, but we can certainly imagine that we are. And there's a little story that I ran across that I thought was kind of cute. I wanted to share with you. It's about 3 baseball umpires, and they're all sitting around talking about how they see their role as umpires. And the first umpire says, well, there are balls and there are strikes, and I call them as I see them. And the second umpire thinks about that for a minute, and then he says, yes, there are balls and there are strikes, but I call them as they are. And then the third umpire chuckles a little under his breath, and he says, there are balls and there are strikes, but they ain't nothing till I call them, which is how creative law works. You know, it grabs a hold of our belief about a thing and it makes it go. It responds to our belief. It ain't nothing till we believe it. Nothing until we can envision it. and be it, embody it. I love that word embody, because we become it, we resonate at it. Now, the main spiritual practice that we teach in Science of Mind, as most of us all know, is spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. And it's a very powerful and effective practice. And generally, I incorporate it, we probably all do, incorporate it into our daily spiritual practice. It doesn't have to be long, but it's a nice way to sit and steep in that presence and to speak our word into law. But I just want to remind us that there's also some little quick things that really work well that we can do during the day, just to bring us back into that resonance of God, of good, of love, as we walk through our day, because it's so easy to get distracted. We hear something and we go off. But one of them is just gratitude, just to find yourself kind of, whenever you do, if you find yourself kind of swept up in a boatload of negativity or worry or whatever, you can just stop just for a moment. Just take a breath and remind yourself of all the good that you have in life. Both tangible and intangible things, tangible things, your car, your house, the things you own, the clothes on your back, the intangible things, the love of your family, that love of the divine that is within you that you can see everywhere. Just take a moment, settle into a sense of peace and calm, and just remember what your source is and who you are. And gratitude opens us up to so much good. It just shifts us. It's really hard to worry and be grateful at the same time. And we could just say affirmations, right? God is all there is. God is, I am. My good is here and now. Or how about Louise Hay's favorite, life loves me. And I like to say, and I love life. Some true statements that just call us back to the truth of our being and help us shift our perspective. We can think about it. We can think of affirmations as taking our attention off of what we don't want and putting it on something that we're really much more interested in. I am interested in abundance and prosperity. I'm interested in seeing love and peace and joy in my life. And that isn't to say that we stick our head in the sand and pretend that we don't have challenges. It's just connecting us or reconnecting us, reminding us about the place where all challenges are transformed, that is right where we are all the time. It takes us back to cause and into that loving presence of God. So I ran across this, I think I said a few weeks ago that there's this minister who sends out these wonderful emails every week. He's so great. I've never met him. His name is Scott Aubrey, and he sends out these emails with these beautiful quotes. And this one I really felt called to share with you. And I would really love for the idea in this quote to become a part of our national or even our global conversation. And it's from, as I said, Reverend Scott Aubrey. And he wrote this. He said, "How would the world look today if in September 2001, after the attack on our country, our national and world leaders would have first sought to understand others, to pause in our reaction just long enough to consider what is in the hearts and the minds of those who have attacked us? Sure, there will be consequences for the actions, but higher than that, what we need is healing." And I just thought, I grabbed a hold of this idea, because I cannot help but think that the people that attack, that the people that respond from fear, need an invitation from us to find that place in themselves where love lives. And if all there is God, then we know it is there. And until this becomes the common thought in human collective consciousness, I want to remember this idea that all there is God. And if it doesn't look God ordained, then it's coming from a place of fear. And we are empowered to think love, to contribute love into the collective consciousness. And eventually there will be a tipping point where that becomes the reality of humanity. I truly believe that. So I'm going to leave that there. So I'm going to invite you to move into prayer with me. Oh, we just know that all is God. All there is God. It is all that exists. And God, within its infinite, eternal mind and the unlimited field of potential, every solution, every remedy, every wholeness to any human circumstance, event, disease, lack, whatever we want to call it, already exists. It already exists. And we're one with it. And because we are one with it, we can move into an openness to receive, to sit in, to vibrate at the level of wholeness, of peace, of connection, of beauty, of love, of compassion, of kindness, of vitality, of health, of wholeness, of all that is good and God ordained, all the relatives of love exist right where we are, right within us. And we are empowered to turn our attention to them, to become much more interested in what we want to see in the world than what has already demonstrated and is in effect. It has no juice. But we can move into the realm of possibility and cause and contribute that which we know wants to be born from the heart of God. So I just sit in that, knowing that there's a sense of gratitude in me, that and in all of us, that opens up and says, thank you for empowering us to transform what already is into something that wants to be. So from this state of gratitude, from this state of knowing, from this state of embodiment, we simply allow it to be. We release it into the capable hands of law, which always says yes. And we just relax in that, knowing all is well. And we say in our agreement, and so it is. And so it is. That seemed long and wordy today, but I was spinning in the idea that here we have all these issues pressing in on us from all around the globe. And we know that all is God. And so how do we reconcile that seemingly paradoxical idea? And so that's just what I wanted to focus on today. So from that, I think Rob sent me a text and said that he was having computer issues, but he would persevere. But he cannot do the what am I trying to say? Sacred giving time, because he's not online and he couldn't get online. So I'm going to ask either Lisa or Ralane or somebody else who feels called to do it to step in for me.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Oh, thank you, Ralane.
Oh, sure, no problem. So this is our time of giving, and it's just it's a wonderful time because as we give, we receive. And as we receive, we give. And it's so wonderful to give to One Heart, One Mind, Center for Spiritual Living. And there's the mailing address if you'd like to mail a check, or if you just want to do it a simple, easy way, you can Venmo at One Heart, One Mind Center. And every tithe is very appreciated. Thank you.
Ralane. Yeah, it is. And keep in mind that if you're stuck in any area of your life, prime the pump, get it flowing, give. Go ahead. Sorry.
I thought I was done.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Sacred giving. Okay, this is our blessing. I really like it. Everything flows from the nature of God's good. We receive from this flow and we give from this flow. We give in gratitude and love, and we have faith in the infinite giving nature of spirit. And so it is.
And so it is. Thanks, Ralane. Yvonne, our master announcer.
Oh, wow, that sounds amazing. I'm going to go kind of quickly today, and I just want to remind you all that all the information that you need if you have questions after I just mentioned this stuff is available on our net at our newsletter, or however I should say that. Monday evening, we have a prayer group. Join us on Zoom from 6 to 6:20 for silent prayer. Tuesday evening, Spiritual Learning Center, 6:30 to 7:30. And on Tuesday evening, at this Tuesday evening, we'll be discussing chapter 7 from Mary O'Malley's book, What's in the Way is the Way. Every time I do that, I get, well, anyway. Wednesday morning prayer circle on Zoom and hosted by Ralane, Clarke. This is an opportunity to give and receive spiritual mind treatment. And the last time we had it, which was the first time, it was awesome. And then on Saturday, we will have a celebration of life service for Reverend Dr. Tom Sainer, who's Gisla's husband, will be held, and it'll be held on Saturday at Seaside Center. And there's a whole bunch of very nice information on the newsletter. And Interfaith Thanksgiving service is on Tuesday, November 14th, and you can read on the newsletter all about it. And that's it. That's all I have.
Woohoo! Thank you. Very good. Very, very good. So I'm going to come back to you if you don't mind, Ralane, and would you like to do the benediction for us? And then I've got some music.
Yes, I'd love to. So let's just close our eyes and feel the resonance of Reverend Michelle's words. Feel the resonance of Ernest Holmes' wisdoms. Feel the resonance of the connection of each and every one of us as we've been listening, and really embracing and embodying the spiritual principles of science of mind. It really is quite amazing and quite wonderful to be in that place of step 1 and step 2 of the affirmative prayer. You know, God is, I am, and to live in that presence and to feel the presence and be there in our day-to-day lives, and to really understand how magically wonderful and special it is to see and feel and experience the world in this way. And so I'm so grateful for the shift in consciousness that's occurred within me, within each and every one of you, within our community and beyond. And as we go forth today, that this resonance and vibration just continues, just like the doctor's words, get a cat. So these words and these wisdoms are going to continue to resonate with us and to help us to express the greater good that is within us, that perfection and that oneness in our everyday moments. And so I release this prayer into divine law, knowing it is already so. And I simply say with all of you, and so it is.
And so it is.
Oh, beautiful. So I found a song that I thought kind of encapsulated what we were talking about today. I'm going to share it. I think I'm just sharing the sound. It's not a video. Hear it?
Oh, yeah. God, you are every mountain. God, you are every ocean. God, you are every canyon, every inch of earth and sky. God, you are every morning. God, you are every midnight. God, you are every moment, every second of my life. Everything I see, everything I do, Everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. God, you are every sunrise. God, you are every moon glow. God, you are every star shine, every inch of earth and sky. God, you are every springtime. God, you are every snowfall. God, you are every season, every second of my life. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. 'Cause you are the very breath I breathe, and your perfect love created me. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you. Everything I see, everything I do, everything I am is you. Everything above, everything below, everything I know is you.
It's all God, all the time. All right, we're going to stop our recording.